ओके, स्क्रीन दिसते का सर्वांना? Is screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today's topic we are going to talk about enzyme kinetics. तर हे इंटरनेट वगैरे जर मध्येच जर कट झालं तर तुम्ही व्हॉट्सअप वरती मेसेज कशाला एक जण कोणतरी यशदीप आहेत का? गोडबोले यशदीप. यशदीप जर इंटरनेट कट जर झालं तर तुम्ही मोबाईल वरती मेसेज करा मला, ठीक आहे? किंवा मग फोन करून सांगा, कसं पण. नंबर आहे माझा तुमच्याकडं?
हो सर आहे.
ओके, ठीक आहे. तुम्ही मेसेज करा लगेच, कारण की समजत नाही मग की कट झालं की नाही.
बरं सर.
काय सर? Okay, so मला किती सांगितलं मामा? ओके सर. Okay, is screen visible? Yes, the screen दिसतंय का? यशदीप, शारदा, स्क्रीन दिसते का कोणाला?
हो सर दिसते.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so we will start our lecture, right? So today's lecture is enzyme kinetics. So enzyme kinetics we are going to see. So we have this substrate. This one is our substrate, and it is this one is our enzyme site. Okay. So enzyme has a active site. So this one is, for example, is active site. This is active site, and substrate enters the active site. So now this substrate is interacting at this active site. Okay. So that is a enzyme substrate complex formation. So whenever we say enzyme is substrate is there, enzyme is there, and if it is interacting, so this was a enzyme substrate complex formation. So enzyme changes the shape slightly as substrate bind. That can happen, and then once this enzyme substrate binds to each other, we have enzyme product complex formation. So this you see here color has changed. It indicates that there is a product formation, and now from this enzyme this product can be released. Okay, so that is a simple enzyme substrate complex formation. How reaction work, how enzyme work. So basically, during enzymatic reaction, the enzymes is not itself utilized, but it only facilitate the change of substrate to product formation, and it enhance that rate of reaction, right? So next, enzyme kinetics. Enzyme are the potent catalysts. They influence the kinetics but not the thermodynamics. Okay, so enzyme are the protein catalysts. Most of enzymes are the protein catalysts, but not all. Some are RNA in nature. So these are acting as a protein catalyst. So they influence the kinetics. Kinetics means how much rate of the reaction, how much rate of the reaction will increase. So enzyme basically increases the rate of reaction, but they do not influence the thermodynamics of the reaction. Okay, so they increase the rate of the chemical reaction, so the rate has increased, but they do not alter the equilibrium. So equilibrium of reaction is not altered. They increase the rate by stabilizing the transition state and lowering the energy barrier to form transition state. They do not affect the energies of either reactants or product. So that is, it means that they don't influence the thermodynamics. Okay, so during this lecture, we are going to explain most of things with the help of diagrams, right? So you should be very understanding with the diagram. So this one is our diagram, reaction coordinate diagram, for example. So here is a free energy on the y-axis. This is a y-axis. We have reaction free energy here, free energy, and on this reaction, progress of reaction. So this is a reactants. So this one is a reactant energy. It is higher than product. Okay, so product will have lower energy than this one, and this one is the difference between this line and above line. It is a activation energy, and if you are catalyzing the reaction, then the red dot is there. This red dot, this will be the catalyzed reaction. Basically, the enzyme, if it is present, it lowers the activation energy. So this one is an uncatalyzed reaction. Uncatalyzed reaction needs higher energy than this catalyzed reaction. Okay, so this activation energy, this one is a lower than this one. So that is a activation energy. So in this example, for example, there is a glucose, and this glucose is being converted into glucose 6-phosphate with the hexokinase enzyme, and this ATP is involved, which get converted into the ADP. Okay, so this one is a hexokinase enzyme, and during this reaction, delta G is needed. Okay, free energy, some free energy is needed. So is involved, so that we will be studying. So basically, the glucose to glucose 6-phosphate formation, it is facilitated by the energy of the reaction, whether energy is present or not. So chemical reactions occur when molecules interact and chemical bond between them form or broken. So whenever we say chemical reaction, what do we mean by chemical reaction in our biochemistry term? It means that some bonds are being formed and some are being broken. For example, this reaction is there, glucose. Here, additional bond is formed between this OH group and this phosphate group of this compound. So this is a glucose 6-phosphate. So that is just a chemical rearrangement of the bonds. So that is a chemical bonds can form or broken in the reaction. Okay. So some reaction will occur just by putting two substances in close proximity. So if you are putting two substances close proximity, some reaction can occur. And now driving force of the ion Gibbs energy. So when we say the reaction is progressing, sometimes we need some driving forces. Some reactions are spontaneous because they give up the energy in the form of heat. Okay, so spontaneous reaction, most of spontaneous reaction, they will give up the heat, and this EH will become negative, means less than 0. Whereas other are spontaneous because they lead to increase in the disorder of the system. So whenever we are seeing the reaction, we are very much concerned about this one, this EH term, whether this is exothermic or endothermic reaction, whether energy has been given or given out or taken in, and other term is a disorder of system. We call it as a ES. So these two terms we are concerned with. If this energy is given off, then that is a EH is less than 0, and if is disorder of system is more, then ES is greater than 0. Then that reaction will be spontaneous. Next is a Gibbs free energy G. the energy associated with the chemical reaction that is used to do the work. So this one is a reaction associated with a particular chemical reaction. For example, our hexokinase reaction, which is available to do work. Okay, so it will do the glucose to glucose 6 phosphate formation, for example. The free energy of the system is a sum of enthalpy minus the product of temperature and the entropy. So whenever how to calculate G, Gibbs free energy. So this one is a Gibbs free energy. So you take the enthalpy of the system. Enthalpy we detect denote by the H, and you then minus it from the temperature minus multiplied by entropy. Okay, so this one is a Gibbs free energy. Whenever in our biochemical reaction there is a G is written or delta G written, at least you should know what is G. G is a Gibbs free energy which is actually involved in the reaction to do the work. And this reaction G is calculated as a H minus Ts. T is a temperature in a Kelvin and S is a entropy, whereas H is a enthalpy of the system. Okay, so this one is a very familiar equation you will be seeing in the biochemistry. Gibbs free energy. Next is a free energy of the reaction. Change in enthalpy. So what is free energy? So we denote free energy by delta G, and it is a change in enthalpy. Change we denote by this delta sign. So this triangle sign is a delta sign, and by this delta sign we show this change in enthalpy. So change in enthalpy minus T delta ES. Okay, T is a temperature in Kelvin, ES is a disorder. So change in disorder of system. Okay, so that is a change in enthalpy of the system. So if you are calculating free energy, you calculate it as a delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta ES. That is a free energy change in enthalpy of the system minus product of the temperature in Kelvin and the change in entropy of the system. That is a free energy of the reaction. Next is a standard free energy of the reaction. The free energy of the reaction at the standard condition is called as a standard free energy. So previous what equation we show, if it is a standard condition, which are the standard state condition? Partial pressure of any gas involved in the reaction should be 0.1 megapascal. Concentration of the all aqueous solution should be 1 molar. Measurements should be generally taken at the temperature of the 25 degrees Celsius. So if these conditions are being followed in this reaction, then it is a standard state free energy. So for standard state free energy, in addition to delta G, we give this zero sign or the as a superscript. So delta G 0 we write on it, right? That is a standard state free energy reaction. Standard state free energy of formation, it is a sum of free energy of formation of the product minus the sum of free energy of formation of the reactant. So that is a standard state free energy of formation. How to calculate? So this one is a calculation. You take the free energy of the product formation minus free energy of the reactant formation with sum. Okay, so that will give you the standard state free energy of the formation. So reaction classification, reaction can be classified according to change in enthalpy. Okay, so already we see enthalpy. So enthalpy is about heat, right? So some reaction, if you see NaOH reaction, or NaOH if you just put in water, it is absorbing heat and you can see that flask is hotter. So that is endothermic reaction, means that it absorbs the heat. Then in that case, the delta this G, EH enthalpy is greater than 0. If it is exothermic, some reaction you will find that reaction is progressing and that vessel, if you touch it, it will be the cooler. That is exothermic reaction, means that it releases the heat and delta H is greater, it's actually less than 0 here. So it decreases here. This reaction can also be classified according to change in free energy of the reaction. So this is a based on free energy of the reaction. The endothermic reaction generally is a non-spontaneous and delta G is greater than 0 for non-spontaneous reaction. So you should remember delta G is greater than 0 for non-spontaneous reaction I mean, if it is exothermic reaction, spontaneous reaction, delta G generally is less than 0 here. Okay, is reaction spontaneous? So how to determine is reaction spontaneous? So what we do? We take Gibbs free energy of reactant. Okay, this Gibbs free energy of reactant comes here. Measure Gibbs free energy of product. Okay, it comes here. And if reaction progress, you will know this curve is like this. So this is a exergonic reaction where delta G is less than 0. So this reaction is a spontaneous. So in this reaction, if you calculate this difference between reactants and product, gives free energy reaction difference. So this gives free energy. So if you calculate gives free energy of the reactant and product, and if you see this difference is a negative. So it is a gives pH less than 0. So that is why we call it as a spontaneous, because product has a lower energy. Whereas this reaction is endergonic because reactant has a less energy than product. So product has to take the heat in it, right? So for example, this gives free energy is needed. So this reaction difference is a positive, so this reaction is a non-spontaneous. So non-spontaneous reaction can be driven further with the help of the ATP or the presence of the energy intermediates. So this one is a reaction on the x-axis, and y-axis we have energy. So we already saw this reaction. So so we have red curve and we have blue curve here. Okay, so let's discuss first red curve. So we have Gibbs free energy of reactants and product. Okay, product reaction is less than this one, but still this reaction won't be directly spontaneous because this curve is involved. Okay, so red curve, so this it has to go up and come down. So this one is a transition state without enzyme. This curve height is very high. The activation energy without enzyme, we call this activation energy without enzyme is high. Whereas if you are putting the enzyme in this reaction, the activation energy with the enzyme, it gets lower. Okay, so this one is a one curve, this is the second curve. So second curve has a lower activation energy. It means that this second reaction should progress faster. So this one with the enzyme, this reaction should be faster. So overall energy released during reaction is the difference between product and the reactant. So that is why that is what enzyme do. They don't alter a reaction state. Reaction state means the reactant will be here, its energy will be same, product energy will be same. They just lowers the activation barrier. Okay, this activation barrier is very high here and it is lowered here. Okay, so that is what enzyme do. So spontaneous enzyme, delta G is a negative, and for non-spontaneous enzyme, delta G is a positive. And when reaction is at equilibrium, delta G is 0. Enzyme tertiary structure. Why enzyme has tertiary structure? Because positioning of the catalytic residue. So if this is our protein, so and our substrate has to bind here. So it won't interact properly. But if it is our protein is like this, the three-dimensional structure, and this is our substrate, then it is binding very nicely. So this residue can interact with this and this and this. So here multiple residue can interact, and this catalytic residue positioning is good. Then this optimizing of the catalytic residue by induced fit model can happen. Enzyme regulation is easy with this one. Enzyme complex can form. So that is why we need protein structure. So for example, we were discussing about hexokinase. So we have taken this crystal structure of the human brain hexokinase type 1 complex with the glucose and glucose 6-phosphate. So this one is a sequence of the hexokinase enzyme. So YAMIA, basically this is methionine, isoleucine, likewise. So this one is a amino acid sequence. So this is a primary sequence. And if you see the structure of the protein, three-dimensional structure, it will look like this. So for example, here our glucose is interacting. So this one interaction will be look like this. So some ligand interaction. So at particular different sequences come together and then they can interact, and then our reaction can progress further. So Michaelis-Menten derivation from simple steady state kinetics. Okay, so here we are going to use Michaelis-Menten equation for mathematical model, and it is used to analyze simple kinetic data. Okay, so you may be familiar with this kinetic energy and potential energy, right? Kinetics means the energy is available to do work, and potential is the steady state. Likewise, kinetic is actually associated with the speed of the reaction, right? When we say reaction kinetics, we want to see how much speed of the reaction is there. In order to pump, because generally the concept of enzyme is that if you keep sugar at the room temperature, ultimately it will break down into this glucose and fructose molecule someday. Okay, so this reaction has to happen without any presence of enzyme also. But with the presence of enzyme, what happens is that reaction, the glucose to fructose, glucose and fructose conversion, it happens very rapidly within second or fraction of the second. Instead of the millions of year or hundreds of year, the reaction will happen very fast. So we are ultimately interested in the human lifetime scale, whether how much is the life rate of the reaction. So if you want to see the rate of the reaction, we have mathematical model here. We call this mathematical model as a Michaelis-Menten equation. These are scientists who derived the equation, and it is used to analyze the simple kinetic data. So here is our curve again. So this is already we saw enzyme plus substrate interact, form enzyme substrate complex, and enzyme and substrate complex will break down into the enzyme and the product. So substrate concentration is on the x-axis, rate of the reaction is on the velocity of reaction is on the y-axis. So as you increase the substrate concentration, rate of the reaction increases, okay, at the given enzyme concentration. So V0 is here, initial velocity. You can calculate here if you are taking Vmax here, you can get the Km value. And this one is a Michaelis-Menten equation. V0 is equal to Vmax, this multiplied by substrate concentration divided by Km plus substrate concentration. Based on this equation, you can calculate reaction velocity at the any given point. So this is a hyperbolic curve, okay? So this curve we call as a hyperbola curve. Hyperbolic curve is there. So this is our reaction. So we have a substrate formation. Substrate, it go in a forward direction and it gives the product formation. If this is a product, and if it is going in the reverse direction, it is giving the substrate. Enzyme plus substrate interact and it will give the enzyme substrate complex formation, and then they will break down into the enzyme plus product. So that is the enzyme plus product. So what happens is that we are interested in the rate of the reaction. So we have reaction constant here. So these are the reaction constant. Enzyme plus substrate, if it is converting into the enzyme plus substrate, we have K1 constant here. If enzyme and substrate, they are breaking down into enzyme and product, we have K2 constant here. If this reaction is going in the backward direction, we have K minus 2. So instead of K2, we have reverse direction, so K minus 2. If it is enzyme and substrate, is breaking down itself into the enzyme and substrate is K minus 1. Instead of K1, we have K minus 1. So negative back direction, we are denoting the reaction constant by the negative sign. So these things are actually important whenever, because we are interested in the Michaelis-Menten equation. How to derive Michaelis-Menten equation? In order to derive that one, is K1, K2, K minus 1, K minus 2, these are involved in that reaction. So there is a kinetic assumption. So we want to get the Michaelis-Menten equation. So kinetic assumption is that assumption 1. There is a no product present at the start of kinetic reaction analysis. Therefore, as long as we monitor initial reaction state, we ignore the reverse reaction B2 enzyme plus product going to enzyme plus cell. So we first assumption is that at the start we don't have any product present. So till enzyme and substrate build, we call as a this kinetic is developing, right? So that is a no enzyme or no product is present. Next assumption is that during reaction an equilibrium condition is established by binding and dissociation of enzyme and substrate. So this reaction equilibrium, if you want to establish, we have to is established by binding and dissociation of the enzyme and substrate. So equilibrium, if reaction has to be established, we have to bind and dissociate enzyme and substrate. That is the equilibrium condition. Next, the rate of formation of enzyme substrate is equal to rate of dissociation plus breakdown. So this thing is important. Rate of formation is equal to rate of dissociation plus breakdown. Next assumption is that enzyme concentration is very low compared to the substrate concentration. Enzyme is a catalysis and is not destroyed, so can be recycled, and so enzyme concentration can be low here. Whereas the amount of the substrate bound to enzyme at any given moment is small compared to the amount of free substrate. It follows that enzyme substrate is concentration is very low compared to substrate, and therefore substrate concentration is constant for given course of analysis. Okay, so this assumption requires that reaction is monitored only for short period and not much substrate is consumed, and not substrate concentration does not effectively change. Okay, so these are some of the assumptions. Fourth assumption, that only initial velocity of reaction is measured. P is equal to 0. The reverse E plus P reaction can be ignored. The substrate concentration will be very high compared to the initial substrate concentration. And this enzyme is present as a pre-enzyme or as an enzyme substrate complex formation. So if you want to see how much total enzyme is present in the substrate, in the reaction, enzyme total is a enzyme plus enzyme substrate concentration, right? So if you want to see the total concentration of enzyme, you have to measure enzyme pre-enzyme plus the enzyme which is attached with the substrate. So that is a fifth assumption. So coming to the main point, so these were some of the assumptions. Now our basic is that we want to develop that equation. V is equal to V max multiplied by substrate concentration divided by Km plus substrate concentration. That was our Michaelis-Menten equation, and the substrate versus V0 curve was a Michaelis-Menten curve, hyperbolic curve. We want to derive that equation, right? V0 is equal to V max multiplied by substrate divided by Km plus substrate concentration. So let's go and do that exercise. So rate of substrate formation, enzyme substrate formation is equal to K0 So rate of enzyme substrate complex formation, complex formation is a enzyme substrate formation. When we say rate of enzyme, so we are concentrating here. So this is the enzyme substrate. So how it can form? It can form by two phases, right? Enzyme and substrate can combine, and it will give enzyme substrate complex formation. So that is a enzyme and substrate, they are combining with the rate constant K1. This one is a K1. So this is a one way. Other way is that this enzyme and product, they can recombine with each other with the rate constant K minus 2, and it will give enzyme substrate again. So that is a enzyme and product, they are recombining with the rate constant K minus 2, and this is forming its enzyme substrate. Okay, so that was enzyme substrate formation. So our assumption rate of enzyme substrate formation is a K1 plus enzyme plus C, because we can rewrite it as a rate of enzyme substrate formation as a K1 multiplied by enzyme concentration multiplied by substrate concentration, because we say that this backward reaction, it is very low. Okay, so according to our assumption 1, we say this K minus 1 reaction is very low. So assumption as per assumption 5, we saw that enzyme total concentration is equal to free enzyme plus enzyme combined with the substrate. If you rearrange it, free enzyme is equal to enzyme total enzyme minus enzyme substrate concentration. So rate of formation, this can be written, this equation rate of enzyme substrate formation can be written as a K1 multiplied by enzyme total concentration multiplied by enzyme substrate concentration. So instead of this term, we are putting this term. Okay, so this term is there, we have this term here. Instead of this term, we are putting this term here. Okay, enzyme substrate concentration, enzyme concentration. Instead of enzyme concentration, we are putting enzyme total minus enzyme substrate, and we are multiplying the bracket by the substrate concentration. So that is a rate of breakdown of is a combination of the dissociation and conversion to the product. So now formation we have seen. Okay, so this formation we have seen, enzyme substrate formation. Now we are interested in the breakdown. We want to break this enzyme substrate complex, so it can be broken down into the one of these state. Okay, K minus 1. So this enzyme substrate, it can go backward. It gives the enzyme as substrate, and this reaction requires K minus 1 constant. So this constant K minus 1 multiplied by enzyme substrate concentration, or it can produce progress in right direction, this direction, and we can take this K2 constant, K2 multiplied by enzyme substrate concentration. So that is a rate of breakdown of this reaction. So ES is a common in these two terms. So if you take out ES, we will have rate of breakdown of the enzyme substrate as a K minus 1 plus K2 and bracket multiplied by enzyme substrate concentration. Okay, so we deliberate a lot on this slide. Basically, takeaway point from this slide is that we have rate of enzyme substrate formation, and this enzyme substrate formation rate this equation. Okay, ultimately we are deriving enzyme substrate formation as a K1 multiplied by enzyme concentration total minus enzyme substrate multiplied by substrate. And second takeaway point is that rate of enzyme substrate breakdown is a K minus 1 plus K2 multiplied by enzyme substrate concentration. So these two takeaway points are there from this slide. And next assumption is that rate of formation equals to the rate of breakdown. So we are taking these two equations, right? Rate of formation is, we are saying this thing is equal to this thing. So we are arranging this equation, K1 enzyme total concentration minus enzyme substrate concentration bracket multiplied by substrate concentration is equal to K minus 1 plus K2 multiplied by enzyme substrate concentration. If you are rearranging this term, if you are taking rearranging all those things, you are taking K1 divided by this one. If you can take this ES to downside of this one. Here this equation will rearrange. Ultimately, you will get on the right side K minus 1 plus K2 divided by K1. So we have so many reaction constant involved in our rate constant involved. We don't want to keep this many rate constant. We want to show reaction as a simple. So instead of saying this many things, we say this is a Km value. Okay, so that is what Michaelis Menten constant is. That is K minus 1 plus K2 divided by K1. That is a Michaelis Menten constant. And if you can put instead of this one, so that is a enzyme total concentration multiplied by substrate concentration divided by enzyme substrate minus substrate concentration is equal to Km, Michaelis Menten constant. So basically this equation is there. So same equation, enzyme and substrate combining, enzyme substrate formation is there, K1 constant. K2 constant is there, product and enzyme will form. So enzyme will not be utilized. So enzyme substrate can break down with the K minus 1 constant. So rate of formation, rate of degradation, if they are equal, then you can derive this Michaelis Menten equation. Okay. So basically here the assumption is that the very high Km will increase the low substrate affinity. Okay. If your Michaelis Menten constant is higher, it means that that particular enzyme has a very low substrate affinity, and low Km indicate high substrate affinity. Okay, so this Km relationship and the substrate affinity relationship, they are inversely proportional to each other. Higher the Km, lower the substrate affinity. Lower the Km, higher the substrate affinity. Okay, so that is the inverse correlation is there. So solve for the enzyme substrate. So if you are rearranging this equation, again, actual rate of reaction can be written as a V is equal to K2 ES, and if you are putting this K2 ES and in this reaction instead of this one, so here we get this V is equal to K2 E total multiplied by ES divided by Km plus ES. So ultimately, by rearranging, we are getting this equation. So our motto was basically to derive the Michaelis Menten equation. At the start, we have shown one graph, and we want to see how this Michaelis Menten constant works. So this is the equation. So we can say V0 is equal to Vmax multiplied by substrate concentration divided by Km plus substrate concentration. So this is a mathematical equation that is used to model our experimental kinetic data, and this equation is the Michaelis-Menten equation. Okay, so a little bit complicated looks like, but if you follow the reaction properly, enzyme plus substrate, enzyme substrate formation, enzyme plus product formation, and if you monitor the rate constants, and if you rearrange mathematically, it is simple to derive this Michaelis-Menten equation. So basically we are talking about the kinetics, right? This car is there, and we are interested in how much speed of the reaction is there. Like car, we are interested in the reaction, so that is why we have kinetics. So if you want to plot the data, we have to take the known substrate concentration. We have to find known substrate concentration of substrate to enzyme, and determine the initial reaction for that reaction. And basically, we have to plot substrate versus V. So substrate versus velocity data. From this data, we can get Michaelis-Menten equation. Okay, in this one we can get maximum. How much is the maximum velocity? Km. How much is a Michaelis-Menten constant? This we regard as a intrinsic property of this one. Okay, so Vmax we can get. So next thing is that under saturating condition, reaction is going fast as it can, and additional increase in the substrate do not the reaction rate. The maximum observable rate is a Vmax, and data will be subtracted to this high substrate value. Okay. So coming to the plotting techniques. So affinity already we discussed, right? Higher the Km, lower the affinity. So this one is a Km value basically. How we derive it? Already we have discussed a lot about it. Rate of breakdown. We can say it is basically a rate of breakdown divided by rate of enzyme substrate formation. Because K-1 plus K2 is a breakdown constant, and K1 is a formation constant. So we can regard Km as a rate of breakdown divided by the rate of formation. Okay, and higher the Km means the rate of breakdown of ES is a higher compared to formation. So lower the value of Km, higher the affinity for the substrate. So, reaction is like that. So for example, we want to determine the Vmax value. So Vmax value, if you want to determine our Km value, how to determine Km value? This Km value experimentally, we plot y-axis, x-axis. X-axis is the sample, y-axis is the velocity of the reaction. Okay. So you put this V is equal to Vmax, substrate concentration divided by Km plus substrate concentration here. For consider the situation where substrate being violated result in the velocity that is exactly half the maximum. So this is our curve, and this is a half the maximum velocity. So you are calculating V half max. So if you are putting in this reaction, then Km will be the substrate concentration. So if it is a half Vmax here, if you plot here on the y-axis, this will be the Km. Okay, so that is how we can determine the Km. If you are plotting substrate versus velocity curve, you can determine this Km value. So Km is actually equals the substrate concentration that result in exactly 1/2 of the maximum possible reaction velocity. So this again in detail. So this is the Vmax, half Vmax. So half Vmax, and if you plot the curve on the x-axis, that is a Km velocity. So how much is a substrate which can give the half the velocity of the reaction? That is a Km value for this one. Okay. So this is a Michaelis-Menten plot for this is a hyperbolic plot, right? But there is some problem with this one. Exactly Vmax cannot be determined. Okay, so exact time point we can't know. So that is why we have other curve called as a Lineweaver-Burr plot, that is double reciprocal. So instead of taking substrate and velocity, we are taking 1 divided by substrate and 1 divided by velocity. If you plot this curve, here this touching point will be the curve 1 by Vmax, and other touching point at the x-axis will be the 1 minus 1 Km. Okay, so it is easier to fit the linear function to the data in this form, and the Km and Vmax can readily be determined from this plot. So you can see the slope of the reaction is a Km divided by Vmax. So from this you can determine the slope. So this plot is very helpful if you want to determine the enzyme inhibition, competitive inhibition, uncompetitive inhibition, non-competitive inhibition. So for that it is useful. Now, how to derive that Riemann-Burg plot we have seen. This one is a Riemann-Burg plot. How to derive equation? So already we have this equation, Michaelis-Menten equation. V0 is equal to Vmax multiplied by substrate concentration divided by Km plus substrate concentration. So you inverse it. Okay, one divided instead of V0, you inverse it. So 1 divided by V0 is equal to Km plus substrate concentration divided by Vmax plus substrate. If you rearrange, ultimately you should get this equation. Okay, 1 by V0 is equal to Km divided by Vmax multiplied by substrate concentration plus 1 by Vmax. So this one actually y is equal to mx plus c equation. So this is a c is a constant, this is a x, this is a slope of the reaction, and this is a x constant or x term, right? So this equation can look like this one, Lineweaver-Burg plot equation. Okay, so this is a y, this is a simple line. So this is a line equation, y is equal to mx plus b. So y term is here is a 1 by v0. So this is a y term. Km divided by Vmax is the slope of this line. Okay, so this is the slope of line. This is a x term. So x term is the x line term. Okay, Vmax. This is a constant. This touching point here is a 1 by Vmax. So that is how we can determine the equation of the reaction, right? So we say here error may happen in the Km and Vmax determination. That is why we are resorting to Lineweaver-Burg plot. So if you have reversible inhibitor, okay, so reversible inhibitor, if you have effect of reversible competitive inhibitor on kinetics are as follows. If no inhibitor is present, then reaction is the same. If inhibitor is added, then apparent Km will be increased. Okay, so apparent Km can increase in this one. So competitive inhibition. So this is our enzyme. This substrate has to bind with this enzyme substrate complex formation. So if this competitive inhibitor is there, so it will compete with this site and it will not allow this substrate to bind. So this enzyme get inhibited. Okay. So again there are some rate constant. Based on rate constant also we can derive the competitive inhibitor equation of the Lineweaver-Burg plot. Okay. So this slope will come like this. So this is a no inhibitor present, blue line. Brown line is with inhibitor present. So this was our initial Km by Vmax. 1 by Vmax remains same. So Vmax doesn't change in the competitive inhibitor, but Km may change. So this Km based on inhibitor concentration, it will change like this. Okay. So this is a Lineweaver-Burg plot, double reciprocal plot also we call, because substrate is reciprocated, velocity is reciprocated. So that is sometimes Lineweaver-Burg plot is also referred to as a double reciprocal plot. And effect of reversible competitive inhibitors. If you look for the hyperbolic curve, here substrate concentration versus velocity, reaction velocity, moles per second. So you can see this blue line is a no inhibitor, and if this inhibitor present, this reaction velocity has decreased. So comparatively it has shifted to the right side. The reaction in the presence of reversible competitive inhibitor, okay, it has shifted to the right side. So diagnostic criteria for the reversible competitive inhibitor is that while the apparent Km is affected by addition of the inhibitor, value of Km of Vmax does not change. So already we saw here in this curve, this Vmax is a single point. So it is the intersecting point. Any inhibitor you add competitive, this point won't shift. Okay, 1 by Vmax. It means that Vmax won't change in the competitive inhibitor, but this Km, it may change. So, okay, so the apparent Km will be increased. So the substrate concentration will require will be increased in this case, right? Don't want to write this. So non-competitive inhibitor reacts with both enzyme and substrate. This is because non-competitive inhibitor does not bind at the same time in the enzyme as the substrate. Okay, this non-competitive means it is binding at the other than active site and then it is inhibiting. In this effect of the kinetic is that enzyme are less effective, Vmax is reduced. So in the non-competitive, Vmax should reduce and Km should remain same. Okay, so it means Km should touch at the same point. So here is this one. Okay, this one is a non-competitive inhibitor. Again, this reaction velocity has decreased in the presence of non-competitive inhibitor. So Vmax was here. Now Vmax has shifted at the lower point, 1 by Vmax. Okay, so Vmax changes in the non-competitive inhibitor, but Km doesn't change. So on the x-axis you see on the negative side, minus 1 by Km remains same, but this Vmax point here, it was here before, now it is here with the presence of inhibitor, and this one is the slope of the reaction, Km multiplied by 1 plus inhibitor concentration divided by Ki of inhibitor divided by Vmax. So likewise, it will change. So these are the references. Thank you for your patience listening. Right. So basically, this is quite